Hi guys. So I think we've waited enough at this point. The recording would be available on our YouTube channel for anybody that wants to watch it later and all. So hi Josh, hi again. Hello, can you hear me? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, sure.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
Yes, I can.
Okay, hi Josh. So thank you again for accepting our invite to talk to us, and we are so very happy to have you talk to us and all. So I guess just to get started, if you can just tell us a bit about yourself, your work in the design industry and all, basically, then we can get started.
Yeah, okay. Thank you so much. Sorry, can you get me to know how to pronounce your name?
It's Olakunle.
Okay, Olakunle.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks, man, for having me in this session.
Sure, definitely.
And thank you, Samuel, and thank you, Stephanie, for having me here. So, my name is Ifnayo Mohalu. I'm a UX and a product designer based in Lagos, Nigeria. At the moment, I work with Design Lab, a design school in the US. So I work as a design mentor, and I think I still do a contract work with SWAT Up, a company in the UK focused on helping businesses grow. So I think so far so good. Right? I don't know, but I think my journey so far in the design industry has not been a straight one. You understand? Because I'm someone that transitioned from being a school teacher for 11 years to starting to build websites. I was an engineer. Yeah. So also a startup founder.
Okay.
So I think the main aspect that made me move into UI UX design was when my startup fell. You understand?
Okay.
Back in 2018. Sorry, in the end of 2017 towards 2018, right? So I had a startup with my friend. The both of us are more technical co-founders, you understand?
Okay.
So we focus so much on building the technology. Like we are so much happy that we are doing this because we love this and because we can write code. And at the end of the day, we observed that we ended up building something we only love because we can write code.
Oh, wow.
You understand? Like
Okay.
we spent 2 years burning capital, having so many human resources that we take care of, and at the end of the day, the ROI is not coming.
It's not enough.
You understand?
Yeah.
So so we had to close down the startup. Before that, I was already doing our front end and UI and UX design. So I needed to have more understanding of the UX team. So I had to let me keep front end engineering aside and focus so much on UI UX design.
Okay.
No, not UI design, but on UX design.
UX. Okay.
I think what made me come into UI is the market, the nature of the market here in Nigeria, right? Most companies or startups will tell you that they want to hire a UX designer, right? But at the long run, they are looking for someone with UI skill.
Okay.
You understand? So I needed to so when I was going through that, applying to jobs with my US portfolio, and nothing was coming forth, right?
Yeah.
So I needed I needed to see what is happening. So when I found out that I needed to get some UI skill, I had to go back and pick more courses that enlightened me on UI design. So then I blend and UX design. You understand?
Yes, definitely. That sounds very interesting. It sounds very interesting, especially the fact that you were a startup founder, and also you said you were a school teacher for 11 years.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a lot. That's a lot. That's a lot. Wow. Okay. So if you can just continue. I mean, just tell us, give us what you have for us. We are listening. We're listening to you. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, man. So, I think the first thing I would say is don't expect much, and don't expect me to be here for like an hour, 2 hours.
Yeah.
You understand? But one promise I will make is the session is going to be it's going to be enlightening. You understand?
Okay.
I think one of the reasons why when Samuel reached out to me, right? So he was like, okay, can I have do I have the time or the opportunity to come in and have a session with some folks here at Design Creek, right?
Yeah.
So when he was saying that, he asked me about a topic or a theme I could like come up and share with the community, right? Something struck my mind, right? Because I've been working with students for the past 4 months. I work with Design Lab,
Yeah.
In Design Lab, we have an online course, right? And we have students enroll in our program on a monthly basis. So we get to mentor the student, we get to walk them through. And we deal with different kinds of students. We deal with students that are like professionals, like US professionals already, that are looking forward to upping their game in the system,
in
right?
the industry, yeah.
Yeah, and we still deal with people that want to transition from a non-tech background to a tech background.
Okay.
And that can be crazy trying to deal with these different
trying to level it up, yeah, balance it.
Yeah. So I observed something like throughout my sessions with students, right? I've observed something that most times we only learn the hard way of doing things. One thing is this, right? If you're getting started with Figma, right, definitely you might learn stuff like how to use a rectangle and text to do a button, right? And you can learn other stuff like how to do some UI components, how to get some things done, right? And at the end of the day, you do all these things in the hard way. So I was asking myself, like, can there be a way, or is there a way, like someone or a designer can be more productive? Is there a way someone can achieve a task without spending the whole day on that task? Is there a way I can be productive as a designer, design my components in just a minimum available time given to me? And that was the reason why I said, okay, I think I should be talking about productivity hack. And the truth is, what I'll be sharing with us here is a part of a course I'm currently working on.
Okay.
So I'm working on a comprehensive course that talks about productivity hack, like how a designer can hack productivity while using Figma. So I'm just going to share a part of what I have there with the community. And please, and while this, I'll be going on to share the resources, right, and what I have. If you have any question, you can drop it on the chat. Maybe Olakunle and Samuel can help me
Definitely. Yes, yeah. Definitely.
Okay, so I will share my screen. Just give me a second to share my screen. Thank you. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Yes, that's fine. So I'll be talking about. Oh, thanks, man. I'll be talking about productivity hack with Figma, right? And just like I've talked about myself, I'm a boring guy. My name is Ifnaya. I'm a product and a UX designer based in Lagos. Design mentor with Design Labs. So one thing I enjoy so much is to improve the quality of life through design and also solving complex problems by crafting intuitive digital products. But when it comes to my social life, I'm boring. So don't bother. I'm a boring dude. So, and in course of this session, right, I just have a 1-point manifesto. I'm more President Yaradua, like with his 7-point agenda. I'm not Atiku, I'm not Obi, I'm not Tinubu, right? I'm just myself, and I only have 1-point manifesto. And that manifesto is simply simplifying design process while working with Figma. Simplifying design process while working with Figma. That's my manifesto. That is what I want to help us achieve now. Yeah, and in course of doing that, right, I will be touching some points. One of the points I'll be talking about is creating local styles. Then talk about section-based layouts, naming convention. Then, if we still have time, right, I can move into component property, auto layout, and micro interactions using variants. these are some of the stuff I've explored so far, like for a long time, and I've found useful way someone can use this and improve his time at work, improve his workflow. Okay, so let me not just keep yapping, keep blabbing. Let me just go into the detail. So the first approach I think a designer could do to improve or to be more productive in his workflow is creating local styles. Creating local styles. Now, when it comes to product development, right, there is one particular statement that is usually said, and it is do not reinvent the wheel. So it's funny when I see designers, right, mainly newbies or guys starting up, right, for every project they venture into, they get to design the same styles they must have used or they could have used or they used in the previous project they did. And I'm like, why are you stressing yourself? And you know that the African nature or the human nature, like human nature is filled with pride. We always have this state of, I want to design from scratch. I want to build everything for this project from scratch. I don't want to use anything. Oh, you're wasting time for crying out loud. Now, one thing we should have in mind is this. The way it works, your workflow as a freelancer might not be your workflow when you're working in a full team or in a diverse team that comprises of other designers and engineers. But whatever is the case, you have to do something that will save you and your team time. And one of those stuff you can do is to create local styles. Okay, I don't know, like, okay, I want to use form inputs as a case study here, right? I'm working on an e-commerce platform, and I'm tasked to create different form fields with different states for that particular e-commerce project. I'm done for that project. I ship the product to the client. Now I have another project, right? And in that same in that new project, I'm still tasked to design some other form fields. Now, what sense does it make for me to go back and design new form fields? Like it's crazy. It's so crazy. So one thing that could save us is simply creating a local style. I think I have some practice file here because I'm sorry. If I talk a bit, I go to my practice file so we can see how some of these things can be done. Now, like I'm talking about creating local styles. So let me come back to my practice file. Let's have a look on how a designer can simply create a local file. Now, the first approach is this. Paginate your workflow. That's one thing. If you want to aim at creating a perfect local styles, right, I would advise you to paginate your workflow. Now look at my workflow here. I have a page for slide. I have a page for components. I have a page for icons. Do you understand? Now, one thing I still do again, I have some files here. So one thing I still do again is this, right? Then shift 2. So if I'm picking up my icons for a project, right, I make my icons a component. So let me just assume that some of us here don't know how to create a component, right? Well, I know that most of us here are enlightened, but let me assume that some of us here don't know how to create a component. So I will just quickly show you how to create a component, right? I will get the instance of this component here. I will detach it. So it's assumed I have an icon here, and I want to make this icon a component. I simply toggle this button, and I have a master component for the eye icon. You understand? So you paginize your workflow, then get your design elements and make them a component. There are 2 styles you can create on Figma. There are 2 basic styles, like not just 2 styles. There are several styles you can create on Figma, right? You can create a color style. That's the one you can get from your field, from this point. Then you can also create a text file. Let's say I have a text document here. I'll bring it down for you to see. So I have a text file here. This, right? Coming to this text here, you can still create a text style. I will walk you through how to do that. But let me come back to creating the local style I was talking about. Okay, so let me walk back. Let me go to my component page. This is a component I did for this exercise, right? I did a form field component, basically an input component. You understand? If I want to reuse, like maybe the next project I might be doing might require me to use a form input like this, right? So in as much I've done this thing, one thing I always do is I create a local style, more like creating a UI kit for myself. So that means for each project I do, I create a local style, or I can say I create a UI kit, and I push them to my own account. Next time I want to work on a project, I can just go to my local styles or my library and import a particular style I want to use. Now let me show you how you can create this style. Sorry, I'm not using my premium account on Figma, so I might have some break. But let me show you how you can create a local style. So I'm done with this component, right? Let's say I'm done with the component, the whole component for my project. So I quickly come to the left navigation panel, toggle on the assets, right? Then I toggle on this button here, team library. So I have this the name of the project and everything. So I have some error message here, right? But let me disregard this particular one, right? So if I want to publish this particular, all the components I have here as a local style or in my library, so I can get to use them in my subsequent project, I will simply toggle publish. So if I should come back to my premium account, right, you will see that right now I'm having a upgrade to team or whatever, right? But just disregard that. If I'm on my own Figma account, right, this particular component I have here will be saved or will be uploaded as a local style. So next time I want to use it, I will simply come back again to assets and come back here again. So if I come back here again, I will have list of the whole styles I have on Figma or on my Figma account. I can just pick one of them and use. Now, some of you might ask a question. Okay, so most of us use free accounts of on Figma, right? That might not be the issue, or it might not be an issue, right? You can still do it a manual way. So when you're done creating, working on a project, and you have your components, I would advise put down all your components, like the different components you use for a particular project, put them down in a different file. Have your components. I'm done with this hacking productivity with Figma, right? The whole component I use, I can create a different Figma file and name that component or styles for this project, and I have it on my local account. So next time I can just come to my Figma. I can simply come to my my dashboard here, or the overview, right? Let's say recent. I can come to my recent and I will see the different files I have. So I can quickly run down, okay, this is the style for this project, the style for this project. I can expect them, like open them in a different tab and decide to use any of them for my projects. That's one thing, like very, very important. This has, like, I'm like a super, like I do freelance gig a lot, right? And this has helped me so much. I don't need to redo so many things. I just go there and pick them and use the same components. Then if the project requires I change a particular thing, I just change and I move on. Okay, now another stuff, like I was telling you that there are different styles you can create, right? So I will quickly go through this, right? Most of us, you're working on Figma. Okay, let me digress to HTML. In HTML, when it comes to text, we have we have headings, we have paragraph, we have captions, and we have several other text categories, right? Now, if you're working, find out the different headings or the different text styles you need. And for those of us that use atomic design design approach, right? That is, we build our components as we design, right? In as much you're trying to design a particular style, just create a local style for it. And let me do this. I'm working on a design and I want to use a paragraph text of 16 pixels. So let's say I come back here. I want to use a paragraph text of 16 pixels. I say this is a paragraph. Paragraph here, right? And I'm using enter, and I'm giving it out 16 pixels. Okay, let me just disregard all these ones, right? And I know that somewhere else in my design, I'll be using the same text with the same size. What I will do is I will save this text as a local style. So I will just select this text, come here, and toggle on this plus sign here, create a star. You understand? Then this could be a paragraph text. I can say paragraph, just the basic. You can just start with the basic paragraph. Sorry, I'm on caps lock. Paragraph. And I save it. So come back to the right panel, right? I'm seeing paragraph. Let me go out here. I have text styles, paragraph. So I can still do this one. Let's say for my caption text, I can say that this is a caption text. Let me detach this, and my caption text can be 14 size. I click to size 14. Then I come back here and create another text style, toggle this guy on and say caption, and say create style. I'm saving myself the stress. Now, next time I'm working on a design, and I need to reuse any of this text size or any of this text with the same size. I don't need to start adding or wasting my time changing the text size or the line height or whatsoever. What I will simply do is this. I have this one again. Let's say I'm working again, right? And I have another text here. I want this text to have a size of 16. I remember that I already have a text style paragraph with a size of 16. So I can simply come to my here, toggle. So I have the different text styles I've created. This is my paragraph of 16 pixels, and this is my caption of 14 pixels, right? I quickly pick this guy. So I'm not doing any hard work here again. I've saved myself the stress of doing this same hard work here. Okay? Now, these same text styles we are creating, we can still do the same for colors. We can still do the same for colors. Now, let me give you a quick example to that. I'm just going to pick random colors, right? Let's say I have these random colors for my project, one primary color and one accent color. I have this, right? And again, I have a frame. Anytime I want to add this color to this frame, manually I will come here, copy the color code, right? Select this guy, come here again, and paste the color code. Waste of time. So you can simply pick this guy here, come to your field, and create a color style. You say primary. Create a color style, you have it here. Then pick this guy again, come here, create another color style, I can say accents. So here I have my text styles and I have my color styles. So if I want to apply any of this color, let's say inside this frame I have two rectangles, right? I have this guy and I have this guy. If I want to apply any of this color on each of this rectangle, I don't need to copy the color codes again. I simply select this guy, come to my field, click here, and you see the different color styles I have. I can just add this primary here, click here, come to my field, and add the accent color. So I don't need to keep copying and pasting a particular color code when I'm working. I just cut all those bullshit off the workflow. Okay, just like we have styles for both the text and the colors. Similar way, if you're creating an effect, let me just do a random effect here. I just add an effect here, a drop shadow, right? This drop shadow, maybe I used it for cards, my card component, right? And I want to keep reusing this shadow. I don't need to start doing the hard work of setting the x-axis, the y-axis, and the blur value, right? I can simply select this guy here, come here, toggle this guy, and say card shadow. Because I can use card, since the shadow is the one I'm using across my cards or my card component, right? I can simply just write card and have it. So if I want to add this same shadow to this one now, I don't need to start adjusting any x-axis or y-axis. Just select this guy here, come to your effects, and you see the style here, and just select. And you have your style here automatically. We are just cutting off the whole bullshit, like the whole bullshit that would make us that will take us so much time to do, right? We are trying to cut them off from the process and make everything simpler for us. Okay, so I think I still have produced some lots of stuff to talk about these styles, right? But I think the time we have might not be enough. Maybe later I can shoot some videos and share with the organizers of the community so they can help us distribute them across. Now, the next thing, and one of the most intriguing stuff I learned so far is section-based layout. Section-based layout. Yeah, I want you to remember something, right? Most of us must have seen or we have been part of this interesting argument on the internet, and that is, should designers learn how to code, right? Most times, when people come up with that argument, I just look and I just watch. Or if I'm to give my honest opinion about the argument, should designers learn how to code, right? What I would say is this. Please, I'm not saying that my own opinion is final or is the best, right? But I'm telling you my personal opinion. What I would say is this. It's not a must for designers to learn how to code. It's not a must. Forget the fact that some of us, we have a front-end background, but it's not a must for designers to learn how to code. But it's a must for designers to understand how code works, or perhaps how technology works. Because what you're doing will be largely implemented by engineers who use these technologies. So if you're not designing in a language they understand, that means you're creating problems which would still affect the UX of what you're designing. That's by the way, right? Now, my approach, one approach I so much love when I'm designing is that I design the parts of my website or my product as a component that exists differently on its own. Okay, one, I design them as a section, right? And secondly, I make the section components so they exist and live on their own. I don't know, most of us here, I don't know if we are conversant with React. You know, most front-end engineers, right, they use React framework to implement what we design. Some guys use Angular, some guys use Vue, and all those stuff, right? Maybe some CSS framework also. But judging from the most popular framework, which is React, React is a component-based framework. That means React is structured in a way that each part of a React file or each part of a React page is exists as an independent section, an independent component that can be called. You can call them in, and then they form a whole. And let's cut the long talk, and I'll show you something. Let's cut the long talk. Okay, so this is let me delete this guy here. Sorry. So this is an example I used for this session, right? For this meeting today. I try to work on a simple website for e-health startup. You understand? So what I did is this. I designed my, I have my grid, mind you. I always have my grid. So I designed my header as a section and keep it aside. I designed the hero section of that particular website as a section aside. The footer as section. And other parts of the website, like the CTAs and the product sections, the solutions, I made them sections. And also, I made each of the section a component. Now, when I'm done with this, right, the reason why I'm doing this is that it will be easier for me to modify anything here, one. And it will be easier for the developer to understand how each part of, or how the part of the website works. It will help them know how to structure it. And it's saving you time. And look at this, right? I'm done with all this section, and I feel like, okay, let me couple them together now, so I can have a page I can share with the client or whoever, right? So simple thing I can do is this, right? I'll create a frame. I use a desktop frame here. I'll create a desktop frame. So this is the home page, right? So I can name this desktop frame home. since it's a home page, then I'm a fan of auto layouts, right? I'm a fan of auto layouts. It took me some time to understand, to have some of the core knowledge I have about auto layout, but I'm a fan. So I'm going to use auto layouts to make this particular page a bit flexible and responsive. Not fully responsive, but a bit flexible. So I'm going to convert this frame to auto layouts. Shift A. I'm making this frame auto layouts. I'm making this frame to have a center alignment and the direction to be vertical direction. I'm making the space between items to be 0, both the horizontal padding and the vertical padding to be 0. And I'm okay. So I'm done with my sections. So I will simply come here, copy my header. I'm not cutting the master. I'm just picking the instance. I'll just copy my header, paste my header here. Paste my header here. Come back, my hero section, copy my hero section. Paste my hero section. Copy, okay, let me copy this guy first. The product section. Paste the product section. The solution section. Copy. Paste it here. Copy the footer. Paste it here. Copy the CTA section. Paste it here. So let's see. So at the end of the day, right, I have each of these sections forming a whole page. You understand? Now let me show you one funny thing about this. Let me show you one funny thing about this. Let me turn off this guy. Let's turn off this guy. Give me a sec. Let me turn off these young guys here. Okay, so remaining this guy. Turn it off. So let me tell you one interesting thing about this, right? I'm done bringing each of these sections together to form a page, right? But look at, my footer is here, right? And this is not where my footer should be. Sorry. This is not where my footer should be, right? So the simple thing I can do is select this footer from here and move it down. So if I feel like that the use case should come before the product, just move it up. And your page is still the way it is. You're not scattering what you've done. Now, if assuming you have this whole page or you have all these parts designed as one on one page, or if you make this part like not be that flexible or responsive enough, right? And you want to adjust something here, you will have to rearrange what you've done. Like you might have to like scatter what you've done just to rearrange. Now let's say I want to reduce the space between like I want to reduce the white space between this and this, right? I'm not going to scatter anything here. I'm not going to alter anything here, right? I will simply come to this component here, which is this guy, and manipulate this guy here, right? And I come back here, and my page is still responsive, it's still flexible, it's still the way it is. Nothing is wrong with the page. So like it's saving me lots of time, right? And you know, most times for some designers that are not good with copywriting, right, or writing US copies, right, we end up designing with Lorem Ipsum. Now, when you're done working with Lorem Ipsum and you now get the content, most times the content you will get for the page might differ from what you have done already. But in this case, it will be easier for you to even make changes to your copies. Because if I have copies now, I'm not touching my page here. My page here is still the way it is, right? I will simply come to the component and fix anything I want to fix, and I'm good to go. So that is why I advise designers, right? If it's possible, right, try to apply the section-based approach. Like, it's very, very important. It's going to make it easier for engineers. If I'm collaborating with engineers, right, the first thing I show them is my sections. Like, they understand they see my sections, see what it looks like. Then they will figure out how to like build it up to form the full page. And that's easier, you're saving time. Okay. Then so I said design each part of the website as a section component. Very important. Like, just try that. and not just each part, right? Design, always make your design elements to be components. Mainly when you think or when you know that you will use them. There is no crown and there's no prize in reinventing the wheel. You're not doing yourself any good. Nobody wants to pay you high because you design from scratch, or because it takes you a lot of time to design something. Okay, now this is something I know that almost all of us are guilty of. Naming convention, right? It's something I know. Most times I'm guilty of it, right? Most people are guilty of this. But it's just a confused word. Just have a look on my screen, right? What you're seeing is just a confused word. I come into a design project. Maybe an engineer walks into a design project, or another designer inherited your project, right? And the person comes in to see this. That's hell of confusion. It's going to take the person time to read what you have, to go through your layers, to understand what is what. Now, remember when I said that it's not a must for designers to learn how to code, right? But it's pretty important for them to understand how code works. In as much you're trying to name your components, name your design elements, right? There are existing standards. There are existing standards for some of the technologies used by the engineers. Try to name them in line with these existing standards. And let me show you something I did. Let me show you something. Let me come to this my component, right? Let me come to this component now. This is a form input component, right? For you to understand how to even design a form input, right? You need to understand the structures of form inputs. You basically need to go to check out HTML5 and see what the structure of a form input is, for you to understand how to come up with that. You understand? And still for you to know how to label them. Now, a form input, right, could have a label, could have a placeholder, could have the input text, could have a helper text, or could have an icon. Look at this guy here. This guy here is a label, right? Imagine me changing the name of this guy here to name or to frame 34. That's crazy. It's like I should be thinking in terms of the time depth and the technical depth this thing I'm doing here because. So you need to understand the existing naming conventions with regards to the existing technologies used in building what you're doing. Then try as much as possible. It's crazy when you're designing and you have to rename, right? But it's quite easier if you're following the atomic design approach, right? In such that you design your components while you're working on the full design. So for everything you do, if you're drawing a rectangle for any text, for any button, or for anything, right? Ask yourself, what is this thing for? Is this thing an icon, right? Yes, it's an icon. Change that rectangle name to icon. Is this thing a button? Yes, it's a button. Change the name. Like, we shouldn't be having frame 1, frame 2, frame 3, like to frame 1000 in our project. It's confusing. I think that's one of the stuff that turns me off. Like one of the company I'm currently working with in the UK, right? So when I joined the company, I had like the design projects. I inherited that design project from an Indian designer, and it was mad. It was mad for me to go through this project to understand what is happening, to understand what where is the button. Like I have to click on everything and do my shift to see a particular thing. But I should just come here and click on your layer map and see what you're doing. So please, I think we need to declare a war, right? I think we need to declare a war against designers that don't name their frames. It should be a war. It should be a war. Now, another thing that will help you to name your elements properly, right, is understanding states. understanding states. If you're working on inputs or maybe on buttons, right, you need to understand that there are several states for that component you're working on. What name can you give the states? And let me show you something. Let me show you. I think I'll be talking about two things, not two things, like 1.5 things here. 1.5 things here. Sorry, most of my components I did we are like before Figma made their updates after config. During config, we had a lot of updates on Figma, like the component property, the auto layout improvement, and a lot of crazy stuff. And like they are crazy though. So let me show you something. Let me show you guys something. Let me talk a bit about component and in line with the naming convention. So I want to select these guys here. These guys here. So before config, right? This was a project I worked on. I did, and this is the form field, like the input components I did for that project, right? I have this one that has a inner label. I have this without label, and this is like my password input, right? But with the help of the component properties, right? I reduced these whole guys here, like all these variants. I reduced them to this one master component. I think the only thing I've not done due to time, like I was trying to like get this before the session start, right? So I couldn't finish it. The only thing I've not done here is to get like basically the active state and some other stuff, right? But all these components you see, all these variants you see here, right? We are reduced to this one single component. So I don't need to do all this bullshit again. I have my students tell me, I have my students confess that since they started learning about components and about auto layout, that it has saved them from doing lots of stuff. So instead of doing lots of stuff, you're just doing one or two stuff. For this particular input, right, I might just have just one variant. I might just have one variant. From this particular master component, right, I can get this same inputs with inner label, and I can still get this same input without the label. And I can still get the same my password input component from the same guy here. So that means I'm not doing these things again. Like I told you guys, I have just one manifesto, and that is like simplifying the entire a designer workflow, like making it simpler for you to do things and save yourself time. Most of us here are married. We have partners, we have girlfriends, and our partners need our attention. So we shouldn't be spending so much time on Figma working when your partner is asking for your attention. You need to like be fast with this, be quick with this, and go meet your partner. Take her out for movie night. You don't just stay here and do stuff like for something. A component you should design for like 1 minute or 2 minutes. It's taking you a whole day to design just input components, and it's crazy. So components, in the other hand, right, is a way like. Sorry, I won't talk about components into detail because I have to like take a bow like in a few minutes time so I can like pick something right. So I won't like talk more about components, right? But I'm just showing you from what I have on my screen that component is another quick way of being productive and saving a lot of time from your workflow as a designer. Look at my components here. If I get the instance of this component, right, and I come to the component properties, I'm seeing you're seeing several properties that properties I have here. I have show label. So I'm putting off all these my hypertexts. I think I should share the link to this with in the chat or with you guys later. So let me move this back to this. I can say toggle of show this. So I'm like from this same master component, right? I'm navigating across each of these things at ease. And before I cut this off, right, remember what I said, that for you to understand how to name your design element and your design component, right, you need to understand existing standards. You knowing those is standard is not just for you, but still for the people you're designing for. It will be easier for them to have it or understand what you're doing. And you're saving yourself time by doing that. I always advise our designers, right? You can go to W3 schools, right? I'm not saying you should learn how to work on, with HTML, right? But you can go to the W3 schools, study the HTML course, few bits of about HTML5 there. Then take the CSS, study this same thing. You will understand how each of them works. It helps you understand how to name, how to work with your grid. It's crazy that most of us don't. If you just give yourself a time and go through this guy and study how it works and not learn how to do it. So I think I've been talking for so long, and sorry to fail my promise, but I told you guys that I have no manifesto, right? But I think I've been saying different things that are outside my manifesto. So I shouldn't be talking so much again. One promise I will make the community is that in a few months, it's taking me time due to my engagement, right? But in a few months, right, I should be able to have a comprehensive course around this, right? Maybe I can talk with Lakonle. When I'm done or when I'm ready, right, I can reach out to the organizers, right? I can give out like say 10 can give out the course to like for free to like 10 people from the community, to just maybe for my alpha testers or users to just like watch the course, use the course, and see if the course is actually doing what I said it's going to do. So thank you so much. But remember the big things I talked about, right? I talked about you trying to build up a local style, to speed up your workflow, like your entire workflow or your work process, right? And I still talked about applying a section-based layout, making your design more flexible, making it easier for you to like walk around your design without breaking what you've done. And I talked about your naming convention, very important. Understand the existing standards, the structures of the components you're designing, and that will help you name them correctly. And then again, I have I just talked about like component, but not in detail because of time. Or you can always go to YouTube or go to Google and you can still check out stuff again. So thank you so much for listening to my tech talk and for having me give you my a 1 point manifesto. And I hope you get to vote for me in the next coming election. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Josh. Thank you so much. That's like, it's very, very insightful. And don't worry, we'll vote for you. If you promise to, bring the dollar price down and make everything fine, we'll vote for
you. Dollar. Are you doing it?
Well, thank you very much for your session. It was very informative and insightful. Personally, I think one key thing that I took away from here would be the section-based design, and that is like all for my future project. That's like one thing that I would, be using going forward. So I think we should just take a couple questions. If anybody have, if you have questions, please just drop or just unmute yourself and ask the questions. And so let's have it. If you have questions, please just let us know. You can unmute yourself to ask the question.
Hi guys. Hello, Ifuna. Thank you very much for an insightful session. Can you guys hear me well?
Yes, we can, Steph.
Okay. So the question I had, I understand that this session was time-based, so you had to rush through a couple of things. But my question was more around naming conventions, right? So we understand the need to name our frames and our components according to the naming conventions. But can you run us through a few of these naming conventions. For example, with buttons, this I already knew. For example, especially if you're using components, you want to have button slash primary, button slash secondary, etc. And then you're able to access your components a lot easier. But can you walk us through other naming conventions? Or even this one I just mentioned on buttons, just so that we have better clarity around that. So we're able to name our components and frames better.
Okay. So I think I have to share my screen again to answer the question. So let me pull up my Figma again. So let me just quickly, let me quickly do this button, right? So let me give it, I don't know, let me just random auto layout. Center line, my text should be center line 2. So I have ways of playing around there. I can use the size of the text, or I can use my padding. Anyone is fine. So I do this. Let me add a field to this. Sorry. So you can see this. Let me give it this guy, just random guy. Okay, so let's say that this is what we have, right? Let me do it in manual way, right? Let me not just go and be doing all those components here. So let me have another one here again. I can keep my color at HSL value and reduce the L value to say is 56. I can reduce to like 48. Let me reduce to 40, right? So I have this guy, right? So let me still select this guy again. This same guy, let me select it again. Then I can use my plugin. Oh, this is a new Figma account, so I don't have plugins here. So let me forget this one now. So I have these guys, right? So I can say that, like, when you come to our HTML, right, we have a button component. You understand? Now, one thing you should know is that a button component can exist in different states. So if you're trying to name a particular component, right, or UI component, right, you need to think in terms of what is the parent component. Pick up the parent component and what is the child component. Because the parent's name comes first. If, like, in our names, like Africans, right, I have F9 Onwuhalu, right? So Onwuhalu there should come first, right? And Onwuhalu is my surname, which is my parent's name or my grandfather's name or whatsoever. I'm not sure I saw Onwuhalu in existence, right? But I put down my surname, which is like my parent's name, then I add my own name. And that's how it should come in when you're trying to name a component. For these two guys, right, what's the parent's name? And that's button. That's the first thing you do. The parent name is button. Now, this particular one is a child of this button. And this one is like default. You understand? Now I come back here and I say, what's the parent of this particular button, or of this particular component, right? And it's button. Then what's the name of this child? It can be, let me say, hover or whatsoever, right? So I just put this guy as hover. So I have two of them now, of the same parent, but different name. Now, when it comes to input, right? Let me use input again for this, right? Let me use input again for this guy. Let me get this guy here. Let me use this guy here. Let me this guy here. Bring this guy up. Now, input is like the parents. Input or input field could have several child states. So that means that input is the parent to several child states. Now, the child state of an input could be disabled. It could be unfocused. It could be active. It could be error. These are like the child states of that input, like the parent's input. So, if assuming, right, let me do something, right? So, forgive me for breaking this guy I have here, right? But let me do something, right? I have this guy. So I want to disregard what I have already, like all these properties I have here, and show something. So I have this guy 1, and I have this guy, I have this guy 1, I have this guy again, type password, 2, and I have this guy again. Okay, this guy, let's say I play around the field. Can play around the field. Let me give it 40. Okay, cool. So I have these 3 guys here, right? Now, these 3 guys are like of the same parent, imputes, but existing in different child states. So what I could say is this, right? That the parent of this guy is impute, the child state is on focus. On focus is when you have your cursor. It's like when you have the insertion point blinking on the input is on focus state. That means it's ready to accept inputs or data. So I have input / on focus. Now this guy is assumed to be like this, like if an input style with inner label. So for this input now, this is the label. Sorry, this label should have a for this label, right? This should have a higher contrast than this, but I copied it from this one. But this particular one now is like the input and label, right? So the parent is the input, and the child of this one should be the default state. This is like the default state of this input. Now this guy again from the same parent will now have input / disabled. So I think the simpler way for you to do this, right, is understand what is the parent component. Just get the name of the parent component, and then the name of the child will now have to come from the state of that child. Just like I have it here on focus, default, and disabled, all child states of the input components. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yes, it absolutely does. Thank you so much, Ifunaya. Guys, do people have any other questions? I don't see any questions in the chat box, but I want to know if anyone wants to unmute and ask themselves. Going once, going twice, and it's gone. Okay, so I don't think we have any other questions for tonight. Ifunaya, we're really, really grateful to have you. We're really excited for everything you shared. And just like Olakule said, the section layout, I think that was my biggest takeout for today as well. So we're grateful for that. And we're also really grateful that you're willing to give us your course for free. That really means a lot to us. And we look forward to it. And we remind you, once we see that it's out, we're going to be your team. We'll definitely remind you. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate your time. And we're grateful. So thank you. We hope to see you soon, and we'll definitely be in touch. The recording will be available on our YouTube soon, so we could always go back and rewatch and relearn everything you've shared. Thank you guys for coming. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the weekend, just a few hours, and then a great week ahead. Bye bye, guys. Take care.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Josh. Bye, guys.
Thank you, Josh.